Hey y'all, salute. Come on in, everybody. I apologize for me being so tardy. Boy, I tell you, if there's anything that's gonna go awry, it will definitely, especially when you're trying to get some good information or some a message out there, you can kind of rely on things to pop off right before you're live, right? So yes, it's good to see y'all. Come on in, come on in. Hey, Kodak Black. Hey, peace and blessings to you, joggers in the house. Yes. Happy Sunday to everybody. Peace and blessings to everyone. Hope everybody's having an awesome day. We got some good stuff going on to balance out the bad. And definitely, I wanted to kind of come through and do a continuation of my last, I wanted to expound on my last live stream. That's a better way to put it. And so, I'm always one to not just present the challenges before us or at hand, but also provide some solutions or seek out some solutions to inform people to give them hope, to give them balance, to give them, an outlet or a resource to be able to turn things around, even if it's just the mindset, right? So come on in, no drama. Hey, thank you for being here. Sis, your thoughts is in the house. Always. It's just such a wealth of support. I appreciate you to the moon and back. We got Miss Ann. Hey, Miss Ann, it's good to see you. CX is in the house. Greetings, Miss Kim. Hope you're having a great Sunday. And to whoever I might have missed, greetings to you, right? So we're gonna get right into it. Kind of a no nonsense person. I don't do real big intros. Not that I needed to announce that, but for some of the new subscribers, maybe some information they might want to have, right? So the last live, I just kind of want to recap a little bit on when it came to squatters' rights and the problem that is like developing dramatically at an accelerated rate in this country, that we are realizing that the protections that we kind of assumed were there, especially becoming state specific. Right now, New York stands out, though New York is definitely not the only state that is definitely, the homeowners are encountering problems, and they feel like they're being stonewalled as an owner, and they're not being protected, they're not being supported, they're not being provided the opportunity without going upside down in all areas, financially, mentally, emotionally, because when you invest in one of the biggest investments that you will make, it is just mind-boggling to me how, and to many others, how it's being taken so lightly when it comes to the constraints of the law, right? They don't want us to take the law into our own hands, but they're not providing us with much of a recourse or other opportunities in order to be able to find a solution, at least without using the law, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, because again, I kind of ended my last live, and there was some impromptu. There was an impromptu video, and it kind of shifted a little bit the dialogue, but it still tied in together. It just it made it real. It made it as the depth of the issue is definitely, it brought it home, it pulled it home, it drove it home, as to what we're facing. And if we're not affected right now, at some point, either someone that we know will be affected, or it may hit our front door. It's good to at least have some information in case you need to pull it and utilize it at some point, especially when it comes to something as protecting your investments, your real estate, your property. So with that being said, peace and blessings to everybody coming into the chat. Today, if my mods, I would appreciate y'all. While I'm in the flow, I find that I do better when I don't read the chat or I'm not so involved. So it's nothing personal. It's just that where I'm at up here, I need to kind of focus in because I want to deliver the content. I don't want people to become, confused as to what the message is. And then what I will do is at intervals, I will go back and definitely kind of highlight and read some of the chat. So I want to be engaged. However, I want the information to flow because this is super important, y'all. When it comes like a lot of people I know have investment properties in other states other than where they reside. And it kind of complicates things, especially if you are unaware with some of the laws and statutes that specific state has, or those states that you own property in. And I remember one of, who was it? Miss Genesis, one in my last live, made a great point. She said that the criminals always seem to know the law better than the ones that aren't out there committing the crimes. And so to me, that was eye-opening because what it did was it promoted me to further emphasize that we need to become, if we're not informed, we need to seek out information and education. And even though this topic or this live may not apply to everybody, there's some information I'm going to share today that even if it doesn't directly affect you or provide an immediate solution for you, guess what? You may know somebody it will help, or it may be impacting a decision that you're in the midst of making. And now it's giving you provoking thought. It's giving you, more information to store so you can make a more educated or more informative decision that may or may not make your experience and your outcome bearable and profitable or a lack thereof, right? So with that being said, I have a few different clips of a few different videos. Most of them I like to use news clips because the media has a certain expectation of reporting the truth, if you will. And, that's the source that I would go to. Even if you take bits and pieces and you don't believe everything they're saying, there has to be some truth webbed in it at some point, right? So, but as some of you may know, at least my subscribers, welcome to the new subscribers that are definitely or have recently subscribed. I hope and pray that you get everything that you come here for. If nothing else, some edification and maybe a smile that's genuine, right? So there is, for those that may or may not know, New Breed Global Truth is one of my favorite content creators. And I'm going to explain why. First of all, he's very articulate and he takes it's a purpose. It's enveloped in his purpose that he felt he was put here for. And he tirelessly seeks and provides information that he feel will enlighten and help those that have the ear to hear or the eyes to see. Do I agree with everything that he says? Him nor anybody else do I agree with. But I will say that I will chew the meat and spit out the bones or the fat, however you wanna phrase it. But another thing that I like about him is that he's solution oriented. And that brings me to the point where I want to share a couple of clips of his last live as well, because he does offer some solutions in addition to providing perspective on and a realistic, what's the word I want to use? It's a realistic perspective, for lack of a better word, I don't want to overuse it, but I can't think of nothing else right at the moment. He provides a viewpoint. He provides a realistic viewpoint on actually, and it makes it relatable, actually, of what's really going on. And he provides insight from time to time, right? Or more often than not. So hopefully, you will be able to do what I do. But I thought that it was worth sharing at least a few clips of his last live, right? Or the day before yesterday. So give me just a moment, if y'all don't mind, to get myself together. Welcome to everybody coming in. Let's see. Okay, so hold on. Who's got a channel? Let me go back. See what I'm saying? I saw Miss, and I'm sorry, I didn't know she had a channel. I would get Mrs. Okay, that's later during her. Okay, got it. All right, no problem. So hold on just a minute, y'all.
Squatting showdown caught on camera. It is a scene that highlights how some homeowners across the country are battling squatters who try to use the law to take control of a property. Trevor Alt is here with the story. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Rebecca. So these headlines come as the NYPD says a homeowner was actually murdered by a pair of squatters that she walked in on. And officials want to avoid potentially dangerous confrontations. But the process of legally removing a squatter can be extremely frustrating and expensive and time-consuming. And some homeowners, like the one we're about to see, are fed up.
You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
This morning, a squatter standoff caught on camera by our station WABC.
There's a man sleeping right there. Get out of my house.
Adele Andaloro says she inherited this New York City house, but a group of people moved in and changed the locks. The NYPD called in, arresting one man.
Why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. You need to go to court.
But this man, forcing his way back inside, was allowed to stay. He told investigative reporter Dan Krauth he signed a lease in October, though he showed no proof.
So how does this all end then? When do you leave?
The way it ends is either she pays me my money that I put into the house, pay me the money, and I'll leave, or send me to court, and we deal with the judges in court.
In New York City, squatters have tenants' rights after 30 days, making this a landlord-tenant dispute. When Adele had the locks changed again...
You're getting arrested right now?
Being arrested.
For what?
For being in my own home.
Police then took her away in handcuffs for unlawful eviction. When it comes to squatters, homeowners across the country have to navigate a slew of laws which vary by state. In Chicago, Danielle Cruz told our station WLS when she tried to sell her home in 2022, a woman moved in claiming to have a lease.
So we show up with the cops, and there's a young woman in there with all of her belongings. They said, unfortunately, they couldn't prove that she was trespassing. We have to go to court and follow the eviction process.
But one man is fighting back.
I understand you've been squatting at this residence.
Okay, so I want to start off, I want to pause it there. Oh Lord, I'm on mute. I've been talking all this time. That's what I get for not looking at the chat. Ooh, child. See, as soon as I go to y'all, I was on a flow. Let me see if I can repeat that, y'all. Oh, I can't stand this technology. Oh, and I'm sick of editing. Okay, gotta edit this part out. But thank y'all for hanging in there with me, and thanks to my people letting me know. I was on the flow. Oh my God. Okay, so after the video, let me backtrack. Adjustment is so necessary. Okay, so I wanted to. It bothers my spirit, and I feel like people actually. A lot of us only have a flicker of light where it takes 1 or 2 drops of water to totally extinguish it. And that a lot of times determines whether people go dark, whether they become depressed, whether they lose hope, whether they are, they feel like their purpose doesn't matter and that their time here does not matter because they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm here to tell you that God will provide us with everything that we need if we seek it, right? And so I just want to do my part. Even if I regurgitate other people's messages, that's how people become aware of things that matter. And so I'm not for everybody, and that's cool. I'm good with that, but I am for somebody because whatever information I learn, I want to be able to share. And let me tell you something, when you purchase property, real estate, you do it as an investment to come out ahead. A lot of times we don't prepare for the inadvertent challenges that come around the pike and come down, the street, so to speak. But I'm here to say that there are solutions. And I feel like what I am learning and getting ready to share is a powerful solution, because what it's going to do is take the upper hand away from the biggest agenda and the biggest desired outcome for the powers that be, or the people that are pulling the puppet strings, right? And so let me tell you something. When I say that unity, that's the weapon that we're missing, that will negate and will minimize many other weapons. If we have unity, then we don't need guns or as many of them. If we have unity, then we don't need all of these things that people are manufacturing in their heads because they feel alone, or they feel isolated, or they feel as if they don't have any type of reinforcement. That's the only way we're going to be able to get through or to penetrate these efforts by design in order to extinguish the way of life that God intended for us to have, right? So with that being said, let's continue.
BC's Jacqueline Lee met with Flash Shelton, who calls himself the squatter hunter.
Is this a growing problem?
I think that it's a growing problem like anything else.
When a squatter took over his mother's house, Flash had her lease the home to him, and then he moved in with the squatter until they left. He's now using the same tactic at other homes.
I would have had a right as a leaseholder to go in, move in on him, put cameras on, and eventually lock him out, and that I could force him to civilly try to fight to get back into a property that he couldn't prove that he had a legal right to be in.
Yo, this country is showing you what they really think about homeowners. They're showing you what they really think about They're citizens. This is insane.
If you haven't subbed up to New Breed Global Truth, I recommend you do so. His perspective and his vantage points, they promote thinking. They promote a different perspective. They create his perspective. And I'm not just saying him, but I understand him. I find him relatable. He ain't paying me to do no promos or nothing for him. He's helped me a lot. He's helped me with my mindset in certain instances. Again, I chew the meat and spit out the bones. So what this gentleman has done, and his weapon of choice in order to combat and try to neutralize or at least bring in a balance, because right now, squatters and ownership of property, there is no balance. And that's by design, in my opinion, right? So the thing is that the homeowners can now, well, they've always been able to do it, but this is a way to combat and to get rid of them out of your property. And it's so simple, but it's so profound, and it's working. And I feel like it's going to work at an accelerated rate. So what a lot of homeowners are doing that can't get squatters out of their house, or they don't want to go through the laborious court system. They don't want to wait up to 2 years, because in New York it's taking up to 2 years to get someone out of your property. And then I realized and found out that specifically in New York, owners that have rental properties, they have to keep the utilities on. One of the quickest ways, if you can't get them physically out of the property, is to at least cut off the utilities, even though that presents a whole nother situation and a whole nother problem, because people will light fires in your house. They will tear your house up. They become very vindictive. They don't have any, they don't have any value in what they're living in. They don't put anything into it. So they don't care about tearing it up or destroying it by doing what they need to do in order to get what they want to get, right? And so they don't, but I'm just saying, like, I'm setting up the picture of how I feel like this is totally by design. So what they're doing, the owners are doing is signing people, that the family members, loved ones, they're hiring people to sign a lease to where they can enter the property and live there. Right? I think that's powerful. Now, there are some risks, but there's risks in everything you do. But when, like, if you're living in the state of New York and you have to keep the utilities on, you have to keep the mortgage up, you have to pay the property taxes, you have to pay legal fees, and now you're buying time as an owner instead of the squatter buying time, because you're incurring costs that when you purchased that investment property, you did not anticipate on incurring, at least not to the magnitude. So there was a video on the last stream that I did where this family bought a $2 million property. They have a special needs adult son that needs around the clock care, and he lives with them, right? And they pay utilities. It's a big property. 1 month's electricity bill was $2,409 because the gentleman decided he became irritated and frustrated and pissed off. So now he's going to run up the bill while sitting in their house, and they don't really have any recourse, right? Or they felt that they haven't had, or they've been uneducated, because as a lot of people, they rely on the court system to absolutely intervene and be effective, because at the end of the day, our tax monies go to that court system, period. So they're servants, and that's what a lot of them tend to forget, especially when you're dealing with election and political season and all that other good stuff. But you get somebody that you trust, or somebody that you feel will get the job done, you sign them on the lease, and now they have rights to enter that home, to rent. And a lot of times what this gentleman is going to show is that, guess what? He runs them out. because of his tactics, especially when you bring in camera crews and you bringing in people with cameras that are videotaping you inside the house. There ain't nothing you can do, right? So let's continue.
Not only after calling law enforcement did that lady fail to get those squatters removed from her home, but on top of that, she left in cuffs, y'all. Oh man, what is going on with America? It gets a lot worse, brothers and sisters. Stay tuned.
That New York case at the beginning of the piece, that's still unresolved. She will have to go to court to get those.
Wow. Migrant situation took place in New York where a woman was found stuffed in a duffel bag. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, after allegedly having her home occupied by a migrant. And I want to go there for a moment and share this with you all so we can talk about this. Let's get into it.
Bag in her apartment.
This morning, police.
Multi-state manhunt for a pair of squatters who may be tied to the murder of a woman whose body was found in a duffel bag in her apartment.
This morning, police say the suspects left the city in her stolen SUV, and then they may have crashed it. Good day's Briella Tomasetti, live in Kips Bay with the very latest. Good morning, Briella. What do we know?
Yeah, Janice Chani, well, we're also learning more about what led up to this incident. Having just flown in from abroad, the 52-year-old victim, Nadia Vittel, stopped by her late mother's apartment here in Kips Bay to get it ready for a family friend who was moving in. Cops say when she found those squatters inside unexpectedly, things turned violent. The NYPD has new insight on who may be connected to the murder of a woman whose body was found stuffed inside a duffel bag in her Manhattan apartment. Investigators are looking for a pair of squatters, a man and a woman, who they believe were staying in the apartment prior to the gruesome discovery. Police say 52-year-old Nadia Vittel was last seen walking into her apartment building on East 31st Street in Kips Bay.
Now imagine.
Okay, so, hold on, y'all. So, let me just say this. They've become very comfortable coming into this country, exhibiting the aggression. I'm speaking on the illegal immigrants and the migrants, right? The illegal migrants. Words have power. They are here illegally. And that's that, right? So with that being said, most of them don't have documentation. What do you think it gives them the courage and the confidence to do, to go out and commit crimes without being held accountable, because we don't know they're even here by documentation, right? So now we have a woman and a man coming in from another country that will probably more than likely never be apprehended or ID'd, but they are so sinister that they done trashed all of this woman's property, her vehicle, her home, and her person. So they unalived her and they put her in a duffel bag. And you're here to tell me that this is all coincidence? Not even close. So again, go over to New Breed Global Truth. Go ahead and subscribe up to them. And we're going to move along. Give me just a moment. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to do the next couple of news clips on audio. I just kind of want to minimize and stop using so much video for YouTube purposes. Fair use is still in effect. But the videos on the ones where they don't have a lot of the visuals, but you get more edification out the news. Those are the ones I kind of want to share on audio. So this first news clip I want to show definitely, hold on, y'all. So California just passed a bill, right? And that bill further ties the hands of the owners of these properties. Now, I'm going to say this. Again, coincidence? I don't think so. I've been told, and I have watched California and New York be the top two states that establish precedents for the country, the rest of the country to follow suit. So I've always been told that if bills in California or bills and laws in New York pass, that you can pretty much kind of bet your bottom dollar that it's going to transcend through the rest of the country. It may not affect every state, but it will become the majority at some point. Now, this bill that was just passed in California ties the hands of the owners, because in both California and in both New York State, they make it the laws are very complex, they're convoluted, they have a lot of loopholes to tie up the justice system, in my personal opinion, especially California, New York too, in order to benefit the state financially. They don't care about the citizens overall. They're both very heavily populated. There's a lot of money flowing through both of those states. So there's wealthy people, some of the wealthiest that have some ownership, real estate, or maybe residence in those states, right? And so California has tied the hands and complicated things for owners, even though I feel like it's on a different scale than New York. New York is just all the way jacked up. But California is moving about it in a different way, and it's through the legal way, but it's still the same outcome, that the people that are the residents that are in a home, or the tenants that are in the homes of the owners at that time, seem to have more rights than the owners do. So give me a second, y'all, and I'm gonna cue up this. Let me know if you can hear it. Put a 1 in the chat if everything is coming good, and a 2 if I need to make some adjustments.
A growing problem in the tri-state area, squatters living in other people's homes, all on the homeowner's dime. And we've told you about a few cases over just the past 2 weeks.
And it's all due to a legal loophole, that some people are working hard to close.
Investigative reporter Dan Kraut joining us now with what he's found. Dan.
Yeah, New York has a long history of passing laws to protect tenants from greedy landlords, and for good reason. But some lawmakers say those laws have gone way too far. They say it also allows dishonest people to milk the system and to get free housing for years. We've heard from homeowner.
We are at the mercy of the squatter, the criminal.
After homeowner.
I don't have access. They changed my side locks and they changed my entire front door.
Who are fighting with squatters who have taken over their homes. In New York, if you call the police on someone who moved in without permission, if they claim to be a tenant, they can't be arrested for trespassing. The homeowner instead has to take them to court.
It's an unfortunate upside down world.
Jake Blumenkrantz is trying to change that.
They know how to work the law to stay for a certain number of days and kind of work the system.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days. That means the property owner can't change the locks on them, can't remove their belongings, can't cut off the utilities, or they could be arrested. Instead, property owners must go through the court system to get rid of them, a system that could take close to 2 years for resolution.
People could stay in a home for years without having justice brought to them for staying essentially for free and making a homeowner have to pay their bills.
His newly filed bill is pretty simple. It states a tenant doesn't include squatters.
You're basically defining what a tenant is. Absolutely. And making sure that squatters can't take advantage of the law. That's all we're doing.
It would mean if someone breaks into a home without permission or documents, police can have the authority to arrest them.
It sounds very easy. You'd think so. But unfortunately, there are many people here who are trying to fight against legislation like this.
Who is behind the opposition?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of squatter advocates, people who think that these individuals deserve more rights than those who own property.
The bill is gaining bipartisan support, and it's working its way through both houses of the legislature. Of course, we'll keep you posted on what happens. And I can tell you it is possible. Florida just passed a similar law just a few weeks ago. It allows police to arrest squatters instead of sending it through the court system, which can take about 20 months to get a resolution.
So I want to apologize. I did the videos out of order. This was the second one I was supposed to do. With this one, though, it provides some solutions, right? Because the one with the bill, I'll do that one next. So just for context and for clarification and for me to correct myself, this video actually was supposed to go along the lines of providing a possible solution as to the owner and tenant issues that are going on along this country. So now at the end, you heard him say that the state of Florida, people can say what they want to about Governor DeSantis, but let me tell you, Florida's not having a whole bunch of these issues that a lot of these other parts of the country, these states, sanctuary cities are having, right? And he just passed, or the state just passed a bill and put a law into effect that that the police department can actually arrest squatters in the home that don't provide sufficient information to them without having to go through the court system. And to me, once you take out the court system, or you're able to implement and enforce the law then and there without the owners having to come out of pocket, and it delays them getting the squatters out of the home, I think that will thwart and discourage a lot of people from utilizing that opportunity. I really don't know why. Well, I do know why, but one of the questions I would ask is, why don't all of the states do that just automatically? It just seems like a great solution, right? So yes, people think they can just come in people's home, and it's not a good idea, but this is the narrative that's being promoted and pushed. And so they're feeling embracened. And then when you know the law and it's working more on your behalf than the people that are actually invested in coming out on bottom, then, the law is what reigns when it's all said and done at the end of the day, right? And so definitely there are some proactive ways that people are coming together. You have attorneys, you have people that are versed in real estate, that know the state laws. You have a lot of advocates that are coming out pro-ownership and saying, no, this is what you can do, or let's change this law. That's why local elections are super important, because it trickles from the city all the way up to the state, or vice versa, right? So if you deal with the city, you go county, you go state, then you go federal. And we have it backwards. So most of us usually vote federal, and we'll fit in the state, and it'll go on down. City, but it's backwards, right? And so we have the power to change those laws. But again, it requires unity. And that's what I was saying. I don't know if I was on mute at that point or not, but unity is the weapon that supersedes all of the other weapons that people are utilizing in order to try to combat this thing individually. It's not going to work if we don't do this collectively, and if we don't unite collectively as at least establishing the same mindset, as getting with family, reducing some of these expenses by having going into dwellings or homes where we have multi-family dwellings. That's how all of the other cultures do it. Without the unity, no matter what information we're sharing and giving out, it's not going to work. It's just not going to yield the same outcome, right? So let me go to let's see. Okay, I do want to shift to the 2024 housing law in California. And this bill, actually, it's called Senate Bill 567, right? And again, it ties the hands and it puts on constraints of what the owners are capable and able to do within the constraints of the law. So let's go ahead and listen.
Well, the new year brings new laws for California. Changes to housing help. We are breaking down what has changed and what it all means for you. Good afternoon and Happy New Year. I'm Graciela Moreno.
And I'm Vanessa Vasconcelos. Several of the state's new laws aim to help people access and afford places to live. Action News South Valley reporter Cassandra Gutierrez joins us live from downtown Visalia with how the legislation will impact the cost of renting an apartment. Cassandra.
Well, Vanessa and Graciela, one of this year's new housing laws will help ease the upfront cost of moving into a new place that people are renting. We spoke to two tenants here in Visalia who say they welcome this change because they feel they were overcharged for their security deposit in recent months. Moving into a new apartment in California may now be more affordable for many renters. Assembly Bill 12 limits the amount landlords can charge for a security deposit to just 1 month's rent instead of 2. We spoke with tenants at one Visalia apartment complex a few weeks ago who shared their frustration from paying thousands up front for a deposit.
They did charge us about $7,000 down to move into the apartment. It's wild to me. It's insane that they can ask that much legally.
Another tenant who does not want to be identified said scrambling to come up with the deposit money during the holidays left her stressed and depressed.
Kind of devastating because it left us hard to come up with the next month's rent because I was just getting ready to start a new job moving here. So it was kind of rough.
Okay, so I want to, this 567 bill, welcome to everybody that, let me go ahead and look at the chat. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much. Hey, CC. Hey, Miss 504. Peace and blessings to you. Miss Juicy Fruit is in the house. Thank y'all for being here. As Miss 5, shout out to Miss 504. She said, I see you trying to sneak up in here. You trying to be all discreet and you think I don't see you, but I see you. Shout out to Miss 504. Hey, Miss Thumbnail Lady, welcome. Thank you for being here, everybody. Miss Kodak, I know I spoke to you at the beginning, but I don't know if you left and came back, but if just in case you did, hey y'all. So thank y'all for being here. The thing is that this bill, and I played that particular part of the clip because I wanted to give perspective from a tenant and from an ownership. Now I'm shifting from squatter to ownership to tenant and ownership because tenants need some reprieve as well. They need to know what they're up against. And I think that this bill kind of really puts that in the balance and focuses in on that as well, because a lot of people, when you're not in a position to own at that moment or at that particular, and you're getting some things in order, or you may not even be interested in owning. It could be too much for you at that point in your life. It may not suit you the best option, and that's fine. However, that leaves you as being a tenant and going into a property that is owned by somebody else, right? And so those rights have to be looked out for as well. And you have to know those rights. As a tenant, you need to know your rights, state specific as well as federal, because there are laws that apply to both. With that being said, the one thing that they've shifted on is they considered taking, instead of a 2, and I know in some places it's 2.5 months of rent charged as a security deposit. So at this point, we're looking at across the board, generally speaking, average wise, we are looking at a 2-bedroom costing anywhere from about $1,300 to over $2,000. Depending on where you're living, that is the actual cost of renting an apartment at this point. I have had properties I have not paid that much mortgage on, but people are renting for those prices. And so in order to come up or to get into those, you need good credit. You need 2 to 2.5 months of rent as dropping as your security deposit. And now we're living in a time where the availability, it's a supply and demand issue. So the demand is higher than the supply when it comes to what's available, right? And so all of those things, it's a very competitive market. There just don't seem to be enough places for people to live or to be able to occupy those in safe environments or what they deem, especially with the prices that they're charging, right? And so, which is, I think, is a good thing, but from an ownership's perspective, look at all of the repairs and all of the maintenance that they have to be responsible for. The tenant really isn't responsible for anything but making sure that that rent is paid every month and the utilities stay on, depending on what state you live in, on and whatever goes with that. But then you have the owners, depending on what kind of, that's why you need to know what you're investing in, what kind of loan you're in. If you have an adjustable rate mortgage, then it's not going to be the same every month. It's going to go with the market. You gotta, the owners tend to, especially uneducated owners or owners that just invested and don't really know everything that comes with that investment. Now they're thinking they're being held accountable for that, but then you can't change the price every month for the tenant. So at some point, the owner's gonna feel that hit, right? And so looking at it from both perspectives, there's a delicate balance there. But when you have people that are squatting, people that are destructive to your property, they don't take care of it, they don't place any value on anything, they don't care about that. The fact of the matter is that it affects the ownership. It affects the owner's bottom line. And so these bills are really, like, again, we talked about New York the other day. Now we're talking about California. Both of them seem to be leaning toward less protecting the owner and more of dealing with the tenants or the squatters, depending on how it applies. Now, one of the things that exempts with this 567 bill in California is that single family homes are not included, at least not yet, in that bill. That's a large percentage. Why? I'm not really sure, but it definitely makes an impact on what properties are affected and what properties aren't affected, and the owners and what their rights are and what their capabilities are in case they get a tenant that is not, complicit, they don't take care of the property, they're not paying rent right, whatever the case may be. But now you have owners that are nilly-willy, right? That have been abusing their owner-tenant relationships. I remember back in 2000 when the pandemic hit, a lot of people, the market went through a real big transition, and a lot of the owners were serving 30-day notices to their tenants that they were going to have to get out because now they want to occupy that home. I had a friend that went through that. And let me tell you, on such short notice, she ended up doubling her rent for the same amount of house because the owner of the place that she lived in told her they wanted to occupy their own property at that point and only gave her 30 days, right? So if I was my friend and that tenant, I would definitely take issue with that. But what was she going to do? Because that's the law. And now it put her in a position. So if you have a lot of owners that are doing that, just like with anything else, people abuse the system or they learn the laws and navigate in order for it to benefit them, right? So with that, there are some new constraints on the landlords in the state of California. And one of those is that if an owner wants to evict a tenant or to not renew their lease, basically evict, because that's the word I want to use. Then once they evict, they have only up to 90 days to occupy that property. And I'm only saying California because this is recent, it's been made public, but it can be applicable to other states just with different parameters and different numbers at the end of the day. But again, when New York and California start implementing changes and adjustments and new laws, other states start taking notice and paying attention, and they consider them to be the blueprint in order to promote their bottom line, whichever that sways, whether you're a Democratic state, Republican state, political affiliation, you're looking at the bottom line with the numbers, yada, 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 yada. So with that, they have to take ownership or possession of the property and move in within a 90-day period. And they have to stay for 12 months. If not, the tenant can sue them. Going through the court system and being sued under this bill, they can get up to 3 times their loss or their claim loss. If the court awards them, whatever the court awards them, they can multiply that by 3 times. So it really is making a lot of the landlords and the owners of properties question if it's even worth it. It just seems like there's so many risks involved, especially if you choose to relocate and you're considering, instead of dissolving yourself of the property, you want to rent it out. But then when you're going to a different state, because I did that, and I thought about it, and I'm so glad I made the decision to go ahead and dissolve myself of the property, because I relocated to different states, and I have seen too many horror stories. And then you got the HOAs, but I've seen too many horror stories of tenants just trashing your place. And you're being responsible for all of that. When most owners, what they want to do, they're not even looking for a big profit. They're just looking for to maintain that investment, for the tenant to be able to take care of the monthly expenses, particularly the mortgage on properties, on that particular property, and to cover, maybe build a nest in order to take care of expenses, like if the washer and dryer, whatever the parameters of the lease and include, that they're responsible for as owners. But then when you're dealing with trying to get people out of the house for non-payment of rent, even if you took a security deposit, which was enough, you still are going to exhaust that within a very short amount of time if they damage the property, if they don't take care of the property. It's like you really have to consider those things, right? Another thing I thought was interesting in the bill was that owner cannot have another vacant property under their name that they can occupy, or they can be sued. So if they if they flip these properties or they rent them out, they buy them for the sole reason of renting them out, the situation changes, they can't have another vacant property if they choose to evict a tenant, right? So these are things that we have to definitely take into account. So I wanted to present that as well, to give context, not just to the tenant or the squatter's position, but the owner's position as well. So I do want to go through the chat a little bit and just kind of regroup my thoughts, because I do have one more video or one more news clip I want to show or display the audio of. And yes, Ms. Collins, the thing is that a lot of us don't, like me too, like I'm learning as we going along, but because I'm so solution oriented, I have to do my due diligence and research in order to be able to learn myself and provide information for those that, it can benefit, right? Miss Cece says, I used to rent a house. I had 90 days to move. They had to pay for my moving costs. I'm telling you, depending on what state you're in, laws, they're either going to benefit and favor the owner, or typically they're going to benefit and favor the tenant. You just, whatever, it is up to us. So if you are used to renting and you're not interested in buying, whatever state your residence in, it will benefit you to do the research on both sides. But since you're the tenant, to really focus and zoom in on being the tenant and looking at it and learning from that aspect, right? Yes, Miss Yo, that's crazy. Most people have more than one rental property. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And another thing that I want to bring to the forefront too is like piggybacking off of Miss Yo, what if people, like, say you got a lineage of family, you got 3-4 generations or more, and just say for the sake of argument in California, right? You got your whole lineage. Everybody knows that y'all are from California. So of course the wealth, if there is any, and you invest, you're going to invest in property. But in the midst of all that, the laws changed. They used to grandfather rules, regulation, and laws into effect. They don't do that no more. At least it's not common. It used to be something that definitely was acknowledged. So I remember being with the phone company at one point, and then they got bought out by a bigger phone company. But the plan that I was on, they grandfathered into the new company, so my rates didn't change, at least until I called to change my plan or something was adjusted. And then that was their end in order to get me on board with that company or to move on to something else. So I say that because you can be just in the wrong place at the wrong time, depending on, that's why local elections are super important. You got to be in the know, especially if you own property, because that's going to be the first thing that's affected when political stances and political people are brought in politically, right? And things shift, they change, people bring new ideas, all of that. So there's so much, nobody's going to anticipate everything and cover all bases. I'm trying to, at least when it comes to this topic, I'm trying to at least put out the things that will affect us the most, especially if you are in particular jurisdictions and states. You got to educate yourself. I'm going to keep saying it because it's so true. Ms. Kim R says, wow, so thankful we sold our properties in San Diego. We had that discussion on that last live. Y'all go check it out. Ms. Kim R hit the panel and she gave her testimony and her experience that I think a lot of people could truly, truly benefit from and gain value from. And a lot of times people will say things that we are actually literally going through at that time. And to me, a lot of times when I say it's not a coincidence, I don't believe in coincidences. I truly believe that when that happens, your higher power is giving you a gem. You got to keep those eyes, all of your eyes open. If you know, right? And you got to be open to hear and willing to keep your eyes open to see and receive the information and do and look at it as a gift, because it is. Everybody don't get it. And especially don't get it at the time that they need it before they make those life-altering choices and decisions. So the information is totally is so valuable if you're open to receiving it. And I think that the benefits outweigh far more when you are open to receive it than to do a correction or to have to go back. Because the one thing that doing that does is it eats up time that you can't get back, right? So, Juicy Fruit. Hey, Juicy Fruit. Yes, actually, I was, she came to mind. I didn't know you were in the chat. So she came to mind because the last video, she put a comment under the stream and she said it couldn't be a coincidence. Yes. She said it couldn't be a coincidence because she is trying to purchase some rental properties now. And so now she has information that definitely will help her in her decision making on where she purchases property, when she purchases property, in the jurisdictions, learning the laws, the parameters, if it's tenant favored, if it's ownership favored. All of these things matter with one of the largest purchases you're ever going to make in this lifetime, and that's property and real estate, right? So, all right, y'all. Let me see. Oh, one thing that I wanted to say what landlords cannot do in the state of California. And some of these laws actually, or rules actually apply to New York as well. I don't know how many other states it is across the board, but I would say those two kind of make them standard. So a lot of the other states probably won't differ too terribly much in the same avenue or aspect. So they can't change the locks. Landlords, especially like in California with this Bill 567, they cannot change the locks. I'm sorry. They cannot remove belongings. I noticed that in the first video that we saw in this live stream, and I actually showed it in my last live stream. She had that young lady that had $1 million home in New York. She had to actually wait until the door was open as an opportunity, so she didn't get arrested for that, right? That could have been breaking and entering, unlawful entry, those types of charges. So she had to wait until that door was left ajar for her to be able to go in and check the property, have the locks changed, basically take possession of the property at that point in time, because the tenant or the squatter was not present to be able to contest it. So she wasn't arrested. When she ultimately was arrested, it wasn't for that, right? And so you can't change the locks until you take possession of the home. That's what she did. But now he got her with trespassing because he assumed tenantship, even though he still, no matter what news source I have looked at, none of them has he shown the lease to. Nobody, right? So nobody's seen a lease. So we don't even know, as the observer on the outside looking in, if he is taking proper possession of the property, or if just the laws just don't support ownership in New York. And that's where the problem lies, right? They also can't cut off utilities, and this is New York specific. And like I said earlier, I was not aware of this. That explained why the family with the $2 million home that had the squatter, and that squatter was renting out rooms. Because of the $2 million property, there was several rooms on that property that was not being occupied. Who do you think they were paying? Owners didn't get that money. $2,400 light bill. They said he left. They had pictures of him leaving every window in the house open while the air is running. $2,400 light bill. Why are they taking this man to court? He wouldn't let the insurance adjuster into the property. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention, especially in the state of New York, evictions can take up to 2 years. So you're fighting with these people for 2 years while you're paying the mortgage, you're paying the utilities, you are whatever other expenses, your legal fees, all of that, to get these people out the house. Why is this happening, y'all? Why is this happening? You got the two trendsetter states, the two states that set the precedence for everything, right? Why? And if we know it, we get the news as the citizens, we get the news late, right? So much late. Normally it's too late to do anything about. So with that, why? Why is it that California and New York are tenant or squatter favored? And I'm just going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you based off my opinion. Fair use is in effect. This is strictly my opinion. I believe that, and I've said this before, this is by design. This is by design to cause civil unrest and chaos. I believe that this is by design. I believe this when the illegal immigrants were being led into this country. And it was even more reinforced when the Governor Abbott of the state of Texas pushed back against the current administration and said, we don't mind being a sanctuary city and we don't mind immigrants coming across the border as long as they're going through the proper channels and the proper processes that these laws, statutes in this country allows, and is stated in documentation and in black and white. So all Governor Abbott was trying to do was follow the law as it was written, federally and statewide. But because this administration, in my opinion, has gotten super comfortable with just, or super desperate, and or whatever applies, this current administration is like, this is what we want the outcome to be, and we need you to fall in line. And Governor Abbott was like, no, not this state. Now you want to go through Florida, you want to go through other points of entry and allow this foolishness, and we're supposed to spend all of our resources to help further your agenda, and you don't care nothing about us? Nah, we good. That cemented it for me then, because to me, they showed their hand. The current administration and the government as we know it has shown their hand. So now you're encouraging all of these people to come in, undocumented, untracked. You give the news media little sound bites of them apprehending this person and that person when we're millions in deep since October or September of 2023 of illegal immigrants coming across the border. You just passed a bill on the Senate floor allowing them to bear arms. We don't know who these people are. They are not documented. They are not tracked. They have not gone through due process. Again, you done showed your hand, because these people have the rights that the citizens have. You have given them resources, all of the necessary elements, food, clothing, shelter, and you went a step further. People of color can't even get reparations on the conversation table. It can't even be a part of the conversation. But you giving these people rights that the citizens of this country have suffered, persevered, sacrificed, and have paid for. Miss me with all of that. This is by design. Now, at first I was thinking it was for voters. I'm not saying that it's out the picture, because they're not going to be this brazen, bold, and outright without them really feeling like they're going to come out on top. Right? So it's got to be multifaceted, in my opinion. Right? So you're investing in them now, but what you're telling them by law, and you've implemented these things into law prior to these people even coming over here. Straight setup, in my opinion. It's all been orchestrated while we've been entertained to death We're eating ourselves to death. We're drinking ourselves to death. We're smoking ourselves to death. We're numbing ourselves back and forth, up and down, so we don't have to deal with the reality of what the hell is going on while these people are making decisions that are going to affect our lives for generations to come. And so they're hoping we don't pay attention. This stuff is not coincidental. So now we're playing catch up and they're laughing all the way to the bank. I gotta take a pause, y'all, because it makes me angry. It frustrates me that you can think so little of the people that keep this country circulating, thriving, and growing. I was paying attention during 2020 to 2022, 2023. And that's when I became super woke. I was woke before that, but I was looking. And I became super woke. Because if we don't look out for ourselves and we don't wake up and we don't get this shit right, it ain't just affecting us. It's affecting our lineage. And we're missing unity. We're so emotional. As I cry, look at the irony in that, right? But we're so emotional. And I guess that proves my point. That sometimes when you're so emotional, you can't think clearly. And I'm here to tell you that without unity, without us being able to put our differences to the side, and without our youth stepping up, seeing a bigger picture, and us healing whatever needs to be healed between our generation and the upcoming youth, where does that lead us? And where does that put us? Now, I will say, I feel that there is somewhat of a disconnect between our youth and the elders. But I also believe that there are spirits and that there are things in circulation and in motion that's going to take care of all of that for the greater good. But I don't want us as a people to keep walking around living in a bubble like this is going to get better. It's not. We are going to have to shift and adjust. And that is going to require things like meditation, getting in tune and on the same alignment as ancestors, connecting with whatever elders we still have in this realm. And if not, we need to learn, or we need to expound on how to connect with the ancestors that are no longer with the living, because they're still with us. Going to have to keep searching for information, and we're going to have to keep having the uncomfortable conversations that yield knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and produces outcomes. That's where we at. I can't put white powdered sugar on it and call it sweet. It ain't. But what are we willing to do for the greater good? That's what we're lacking. That's what we're lacking. And we don't have the time. We don't have the time to keep troubleshooting and get this thing right. We don't have the time. We have to start making some choices, some tough choices. And that's going to involve and require sacrifice. If you're walking around thinking that this government is looking out for your well-being, you are sadly mistaken. It is going to take self-sufficiency, knowledge of self-sustenance, how to survive off of the land, and going back to family. And I'm going to say that until my face turns blue, purple, green, red, or whichever color comes first. And that's that in a nutshell. This is bigger than just where you sit, how you survive from day to day, how you maneuver. This is bigger than going on vacation because you feel like you deserve it. I can't tell you the last time I took a genuine vacation. I do staycations and I'll do a weekend turnaround trip. But for whatever my personal reasons are, I'm always waking up feeling like I got work to do. Because again, I got more life behind me, in my opinion, than I have ahead of me. And so whatever I'm going through right now, I got to make that count. And I'm at a season and at a point in my life where God has gifted me and He's granted me and many others. Shout out to Miss Yo. Shout out to all of those people that come on this platform and utilize it in a way to spread information, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and not for destruction. Because when it's all said and done, if we don't unify, we all gonna be in the same damn boat, in my opinion. Now, I do believe there will be separation at some point. However, speaking on a generalized spectrum, y'all, we don't have a lot of time. This is not my words. These are the words that are being spoken through me today. And whenever I come on this platform, I have to be moved. That's why I don't come every day. I try to have some consistency, but I can't tell the spirit what to do. And anytime I click the on button, when I click off or in live, the first thought I want to resonate in my spirit is you did good. You taught somebody something that they needed to know. It's not your job or your responsibility to determine who that is or what you said that made that difference. Let me do that. You just be obedient. But in order for me to be obedient, I have to be moved and I have to feel like I'm communicating with a spirit and an entity higher than myself. But I know with conviction and with confirmation, because in my heart, in my soul, and in my vibration, I stand tall and I feel good about when I click live and then I click in live, that somebody's gonna have learned something, or somebody will have been educated about something that they didn't have before they clicked on. And that reaffirms to me that I did what I was supposed to do. I don't care about none of that superficial stuff. Because at the end of the day, if that one person heard me and gained some type of information using my higher power, because he saw it coming way before I did, but he used me to spread that information to someone that may have that one person in their family that can help change the world, then I did what I was supposed to do. I don't do this for clicks and views. I'm not going to keep repeating that until I feel the need to. But sometimes we have to be reminded that there has to be something in your life that you're moved to by purpose and not by your personal desired superficial outcome. A click and a view doesn't give me confirmation and gratification on shit. Because if the 20 people, out of the 20 people that were consistently from the beginning to the end or somewhere in between of that live or that message, if 3 of them got it, do you know how many people that will impact? Because my life has been changed and it's forever changing as the season calls it for me. For me. I can only speak for me. Somebody had to pour into me, but I had to be open for it. I had to be ready to receive it. I had to be willing to be corrected and admit that now, because I know better, I'm doing better. We are not in control of the cards that are dealt to us until the hand is shown. Once the hand is shown, then you know what you're working with. That's on you at that point. That's why at 50, 60 years old, being a victim, it ain't cute no more. Because we done lived enough life to where that word should not be associated with us, our energy, our parameters, our presentation, our language, our expression, any of that. There has to come a point where we have to take responsibility for who we are, the decisions we make, how we're moving, and who we're educating. I'm moved by the Spirit. I'm not moved for superficial outcomes. I don't give a damn about none of that. I'm not clicking the live button to look cute, or to play a role, or to send a superficial message. We don't have the time for that anymore. We have to be about our business. And if you're not about your business, click off and go to the beef. Go to the bullshit. Do what you do in order to entertain you and to satisfy you in that moment. But don't cry to nobody else when the stuff hits the fan and you have no tools, no information, and nothing tangible that's going to help you make a greater decision for not just you, but for everybody connected to you. And that's where I'm at with it. I'm not going to go on too much longer. I think I've said enough. I don't know if anybody wants to hit the link. I'll give it a couple minutes and I'll provide the link. That's just something I definitely want to afford anybody. And it also, I also want to say that it provides an acknowledgement to my chat. It's okay for y'all to converse. And I love the fact that y'all conversate with each other in the chat, but I want to provide the opportunity for anybody that wants to come up or that has a word or that they're feeling moved to do so. I just want to provide that opportunity. This live actually didn't go nowhere how I planned it. Let me just make that disclaimer. However, chew the meat and spit out the bones, and hopefully there was something or some things that were said that fed your spirit and your soul. Because I know people feed mine, and I just want to pass it along, right? So, hey, this girl, she said that was powerful. Thank you. I don't know which exactly you were referring to, but if something resonated with you and something touched your spirit, then I did what I was supposed to do, and I'm good with that. Right? Let's see. If one hears job well done, faithfully servant. Amen. Amen. Yes. So let me just take a moment because I haven't been paying attention. I just want to make sure that if anybody financially bless me, that it doesn't go amiss. Okay. We're good. All right. Okay, so I'll drop it one more time. This was a great lie. This is a great lie. And it's quite all right. I don't expect every time that, we have that I have a live or we have a discussion that people want to hit the link. If the spirit don't move, you don't do it. I just want to present the opportunity and make it available to those that may. Because it's not for me to know who is being moved or who is being motivated by to say something or what they have to contribute of value to the conversation. That ain't my job, but it is my responsibility to provide the opportunity if this is the venue that I choose to communicate with y'all on. So with that being said, Miss Yoey. Yes, thank you to all who subscribed and hit the like button. You are truly appreciated. Slow and steady. Every time I think of that, Miss Yo, and not just Miss Yo, Bolo, shout out to Bolo. If you haven't subscribed to Bolo VNR, you're missing out. Brother Man is a walking encyclopedia. He is so for his people abroad, not just from Jamaica, but abroad. He's so genuine. He's so sincere, in my opinion. Whether people agree or they don't, nobody's perfect. We ain't supposed to be perfect. Too much responsibility and too much pressure being perfect, in my opinion. So, but yeah, shout out to Bolo VNR. Shout out to Miss 504. Dat Goat 504 was a great live today. Damn D, shout out to Damn D. I'm telling you, he definitely brought things to full circle, because I think a lot of perspectives need to be listened to, especially when God's work is being done, because we got some spirits we need to really deal with right now. If you know, you know, right? All right, y'all. So we're gonna definitely just kind of wrap this up. Again, I hope and pray and claim that your time was utilized wisely, spending it with me. I hope I didn't ramble on, but if I did, maybe somebody needed to hear something, right? So with that being said, we're going to continue with our day. And if you haven't today, step outside, get some fresh air. Even if it's raining where you are, just breathe in some outside air. Walk around the block with an umbrella. Even if you don't want to do that, drive a couple of miles from the house and just get a different feel for a different environment. If you haven't prayed today, I recommend you do so, because we're coming into a time, everybody, where we're not going to be able to rely just on our own understanding. We're not going to be able to rely just on our own energy. We feed off of energy. That's why it's so super important and promoted to connect with people with like minds, because if you have like minds, your energies are going to be similar, right? Hug somebody in your house. Let me just take a moment. Thank y'all for the I'm hearing my cash apps go off, and I'm going to acknowledge you in a moment. Thank you so very much. I appreciate all of y'all. Okay, so I'm close with my family. My family is big, but it's small, if that's making any sense. I have 2 sons that I'm very close with, both of my sons. I pour everything that I am into my children. Me and my oldest son have been through a lot together. So we have a bond that is a sheer, even though like me and my youngest son, I'm not saying no, me and my youngest son have a separate, they're like night and day. So our relationships are going to be different. They're going to serve different purposes. But I still pour everything that I am and who I am into my children. And even though my oldest is grown, I pour into him like I did when he was 11 and 12, especially when he comes to me and he's saying and he's vocalizing, Mom, I need you right now. What you need, baby? What you need until you don't need it no more. And I say that to lead to this. Yesterday we were talking and I was so relieved and so grateful that he was able to express how he felt, not expecting judgment, not caring if judgment came, because our relationship is important enough for him to say, no matter how I look or how I come off or how emotional I may be, because he's not an emotional person, typically speaking, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I need. This is who I am. And you help create this person. And our relationship means enough to me for me to come to you and say, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what's not setting well with my spirit. This is what is setting well with my spirit. And I'm going to ride with you until the wheels fall off. Were his exact words. And I bring that to fruition and to the topic of conversation because y'all, our relationships, there's nothing more important than that. Nothing. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what kind of gratification you get from your job. I don't care how many people show you attention. The one gift that I realized that I knew it was a gift because I got it was the fact that my relationships were more valuable than anything. You can't replace relationships. They take time, energy, and investment to build. And if you don't build those relationships, they wither. They deteriorate, they decay, they break apart. And that's what is banked on. That is what is promoted. That is what a lot of the laws in this country facilitate, that outcome, that ideology that we can make it on our own without anybody. The Bible say different. History say different. Our past says different. Our ancestors say different. Our elders say different. Life's outcomes say different. What we gonna do? If you ain't willing to sacrifice nothing, if you're not willing to admit to any type of flaw or error in judgment on your part, you're gonna end up alone. And this is not the time in history where we need to be revering and harnessing isolation. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. Juicy Fruit said it. We need each other. We need each other. We need to become more selfless instead of selfish. It's ruined us culturally. Miss Yo said this not too long ago on one of the lives. She said, we taught other cultures. We set the precedent of being a tribal community. A tribal community. And now we're anything but that. It's been a mind-altering, focused in experience. It's been subtle. And now the reason why so many people are waking up now is because things are not subtle, because time is short and the powers that be are moving from a desperate position. So with that being said, I can go on and on because my brain moves a lot faster than my mouth does, and it don't stop even when I shut down and go to sleep, which is probably why I'm not sleeping as long as I used to, because I'm so on purpose and I'm so purpose driven. And I know that every day is a gift. So any day that the Spirit moves me and I can get it out, then I'm going to do that. I would rather do that and bore some people or turn some people off than not to be able to give it to those that need it and that prayed for it and me not be obedient. And so, again, it's okay. Nobody wants to hit the link. We are stronger together. Amen. I appreciate everybody for being here. I appreciate and hope that I was able to provide value for you to be able to feed you thoughts, at least for the rest of the day, thought-provoking statements that may have been made. Shout out to everybody that contributed to the stream, my moderators, my chat, the new subscribers. I will be doing another cash giveaway at 500. If, like I said, if you haven't subscribed, at least go check out New Breed Global Truth. I think I wouldn't say it and I wouldn't repeat myself if I didn't feel that people wouldn't be blessed by at least some of the information that's given. And we have to make it okay that we're not going to agree with everything everybody says. I think we're just living in such a fantasy world to have that expectation that the first time we disagree with somebody that we just don't have value in anything that they say anymore. And I think that has been so detrimental because you don't know what you're missing out on. Ain't none of us perfect. Everything that I say, everybody ain't going to receive, but I don't expect that. That would be crazy for me to have that expectation. And I'm hoping that we can normalize chewing the meat and spitting out the bones. I'm hoping we can do that, y'all. And so again, thank you everybody for being here. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And let me just go through the chat to the people that have come in since the last time I looked. Ray LLC. Yes, thank you. Miss Collins says, Miss Akemi, I just literally subbed up to that channel like a couple of days. I'm telling you, Miss Collins, I'm telling you, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be blessed. Miss Yo says, we are the lost tribes. We are stronger together. Yes, ma'am. Miss Juicy Fruit says, we need each other. I'm telling you, this is a lot. I was just thinking about this the other day. Wow, this is confirmation. See, this is what I'm talking about right here. Right here. For somebody to say that this confirms what my spirit may have been restless about, or this was the thing that I needed to hear that I know is outside of what I'm able to control, which is confirmation for me in order for me to make a decision that benefits me and my loved ones. This is why I do this. All right. Yes. If you haven't caught the replay or if you came in late or whatnot, please catch the replay. I also encourage you to do to go look at my last live. My last live, I can tell you what the title of that was. Homeowners losing home to squatters. What world are we living in? This is kind of a continuation. I will probably adjust the titles to reflect so because they are connected. But I'm just saying, you know, if nothing else, you'll get some type of an education if you're ever interested in renting property, moving out of a particular state and relocating, but you don't want to necessarily sell. Learning the laws of different states is definitely, I'm telling you, you're going to be helping yourself as well as other people with your same like minds in order to protect your investment at the end of the day and to provide something for a family in need and not somebody that just wants to take advantage. And so, yes, much love to everybody. I'm going to go ahead and bow out gracefully. I appreciate everybody. And I'll see y'all next live. I appreciate you. Take care.